Hello students, in this lesson we are going to talk about the animal tissue. That means we are going to look inside our body, our organs, what is the tissue composition of each organ, what are the different types of tissues which are present in human body or say any animal body. It is the same tissues which are present in any animal, whether it be a cockroach or a human being, it would have the same types of tissues. So the four types of tissues which form all the organs in our body. What is a tissue? You know that it is a group of cells which is designated to perform a particular function. So there are four types of animal tissues. First is the epithelial tissue, second is the connective tissue, third is the muscular tissue, muscles which are, and fourth one is the nervous tissue which is responsible for the guidance and control by the brain. Now when we talk about the first one, that is the epithelial tissue that we are going to discuss in this lesson. Epithelial tissue is the outermost tissue, that is, it performs the function of boundary. You might have heard of this word epi in the term epidermis, so is epithelial. This tissue is responsible for making demarcation, or as we call it, boundaries. So where the location of this tissue is, it is in the external body surfaces. Say our skin, that is made up of epithelial tissue, and internal free surfaces. You know, our body is hollow and filled, it is having many cavities inside it, it is having many organs. So all the boundaries that would be formed for any organ, that would be because of the epithelial tissue present over there. So the location should be clear that it is the external body surfaces, any surface, and the internal free surfaces wherever the body is going to have, that would be lined by the epithelium or the epithelial tissue. You might know that there is an alimentary canal, outer is also epithelium and inner is also epithelium, and in between are filled the four types of tissues. So every organ has all these four tissues and the boundaries are made by the epithelial tissues. Now what are the features of this epithelial tissue? This is a tissue that is going to have cells inside it. So the cells are basically closely packed to each other. They are polygonal cells. They have cell junctions, that means they would be joined at certain positions, those cells, and there would be very little extracellular material present inside them. That means the intercellular spaces would also be less, and the fluid, that is the extracellular fluid, that would also be very less. That means the crowded nature of this tissue is very clear from this fact that very little extracellular material is present. It is making the boundaries, it is making the surfaces. So all the cells are packed together with proper cell junctions, and all these cells are arranged like a wreath on a basement membrane. The basement membrane is non-cellular. It separates the epithelial tissue from the underlying connective tissue which provides nourishment to the epithelial tissue. Do pay attention that the basement membrane, I am repeating, it separates the underlying connective tissue from the epithelial tissue, and that connective tissue provides nourishment to the epithelial tissue because epithelial tissue does not have any connective tissue supply. So these are the features and location that is clear, but on the basis of cell types, the epithelial tissues are further of different classifications. Now before that, we need to see what are the functions of these tissues. From the cell types and the features that we discussed, it is very clear that epithelium is going to be thin. Whenever we are talking about thin surface, as our body performs various physiological functions, so the epithelium is going to perform the function of absorption, it is going to perform the function of secretion, and of course it is going to separate the body from the immune medium, as in the case of the skin. Skin is the lining of the surfaces is being provided by the epithelium. Contractility is being provided by the epithelium in the case of myoepithelium, which is in association with the muscular tissue. In case of neuroepithelium, epithelium provides the sensation. In terms of the rest of the epitheliums, which we are going to discuss the types, absorption and secretion and mechanical support is the main function of this type of tissue. Now let us see on the basis of types of cells how many epithelial tissues are present. There are two types. One is covering, as we discussed earlier, and one is exclusively secretory, that is the glandular epithelial tissue. In the covering epithelial tissue, we have two types of epitheliums, that is simple and compound. In simple, you must keep in mind that wherever there is mechanical abrasion associated with the organ, simple epithelium will not be present over there because it is not thick. It is 1 or 2 or say 4 to 5 layer thick, but this does not provide that mechanical support which compound epithelium is able to provide in case of mechanical abrasions. So first thing that you need to keep in mind that our skin cannot be simple epithelium because it is present for mechanical abrasion resistance and support to our body. So that is made up of compound epithelium because that epithelium has 4 to 6 layer cells which separate the basic body surface from the medium, and that happens to be supplied by few extensions like hair and follicles and somewhat glandular epithelium. So let us see what this simple epithelium is all about. Simple epithelium is further of 5 types, as you can see. This squamous epithelium is the simplest one. It would be thinnest one. Wherever diffusion is required, we will have simple squamous epithelium. That means the cells would be arranged like this. Uppermost layer would be irregular. There would be an appearance of a plate-like covering, and it would be single layer thick with the basement membrane below it, and the connective tissue, that is subcutaneous area, would be lying underneath. In case of cuboidal tissue, the cells are polygonal, but if we see it from above, we see it to be cuboidal. So cuboidal, simple tissue, epithelial tissue. Then we have columnar. Columnar is the cells would be in shape of column with nucleus which would be ciliated below. Here we are discussing not the locations, we are discussing only the cellular characters. So in case of columnar, such would be the cells. They would be arranged, there would be a single layer of cells and arranged in this pattern. In case of ciliated, the columnar cells are going to bear cilia, small projection which help in motility. And then the condition is pseudo-stratified. Pseudo-stratified is also type of columnar epithelium, but as the name suggests, pseudo means false and stratification means levels. So when we talk about pseudo-stratified, there would be a false level of cells. The columnar epithelium would have a single layer, but the cell size would not be similar and the nuclei would appear in such a manner so that it appears double layered or triple layered. Such is pseudo-stratified condition. As you can make out, there is only one cell per layer, but they are appearing to be two. Such is pseudo-stratified epithelium. Now somewhat thick pseudo-stratified is, but it is still simple one. Then we come to compound. In compound case, we have stratified and transitional epithelium. Stratified epithelium is going to be very thick and it is further of 3 types. Now these classification in the stratified compound epithelium is on the basis of the uppermost layer, that how those cells are looking to the eye. The uppermost cells, if they appear to be cuboidal, it happens to be cuboidal stratified epithelium. If it happens to be squamous, that means arranged literally in a sheet-like fashion, it would be squamous stratified, and in case there is secretion of keratin from there, then it is keratinized, as in the case of our skin. And then there is transitional epithelium. Transitional epithelium is not as thick as stratified, but again it is compound, so it is having layers inside it. So we have stratified, which is present at those places where the mechanical abrasion and strong contractions would be present, and in transitional case where contraction and relaxation would be quite rapid. In case of urinary bladder, in case of uterus, there would be transitional epithelium. So now we come to the learning part, that where all these epithelium are located. The squamous epithelium, as you know, it is very thin. It is going to be present at the surfaces where diffusion and absorption takes place. So basically they would be lining the intestinal walls and they would be present in the alveoli. When we talk of cuboidal, they would also be present in excretory and absorption purpose. Secretory, not excretory, secretory and absorption purpose. Columnar would also be present. So all these things you are going to be finding, these types of epithelium are going to be found in the areas where there is either secretion or absorption. To be precise, it would be the digestive lining and the excretory epithelium in case of proximal convoluted tubule of the kidneys, distal convoluted tubules of the kidney, and in cases of the small intestine, where you need to remember one thing, that columnar simple epithelium is responsible for formation of microvilli inside our epithelium. Okay, epithelium of small intestine, which gives it an appearance of brush border. So the columnar one is also known as brush border epithelium, and these microvilli increase the surface area for absorption of the food material. Then we have ciliated. Ciliated is, as you can see, cilia is present. So this type of epithelium would be found in those places where the particles are to be moved. So let's talk about our nasal chamber. They would have ciliated epithelium. Then we talk about our ear. It has ciliated epithelium. Fallopian tubes have ciliated epithelium. And then we come to pseudostratified. Something thickened would be there, and it could be ciliated, it could be non-ciliated depending upon the location where it is present. So this is all about the covering epithelium. Glandular epithelium shall be taken in the next class. Thank you.